What's up guys, welcome back to NBA Insider. Now a couple of days ago I uploaded a video talking about the Golden State Warriors and how Kevin Durant's injury has put them in a difficult situation and affected their current chemistry. If you haven't had a chance to see the video, I will put it on the screen somewhere right here. If you would like to get a better understanding of what I'm about to talk about, you might want to watch that first. Anyhow, after I finished that video, it got me thinking. Now that the Golden State Warriors are in somewhat of a vulnerable position, which team might rise from the ashes to take advantage of the current situation? Now of course, if we were in the East, every NBA fan would be quick to say the Cleveland Cavaliers, and that's without a doubt. But what about the West? Many people tend to forget about Kawhi Leonard and the San Antonio Spurs. Now I'm not saying just because Durant is injured that the Spurs are automatically going to win the NBA championship, but that they are definitely a team that everyone should keep an eye on. Although the Spurs have taken a loss of their own with the recent retirement of NBA legend Tim Duncan, the team is still in the race and hungry to win a championship. The big question though is, how do they do that? What do they need to do to win a title? And of course the answer is easier said than done. They have to beat Golden State and Cleveland. That's it. Those are the things that San Antonio needs to figure out how to do. Because if they can beat the Golden State Warriors in a 7-game series, they are going to play against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and if they can beat them in a 7-game series, then they win it all. For this to happen, I am going to break down every position on each team along with its key matchup and some other factors to show just how the Warriors and Cavs could possibly, keyword possibly, fall to the Spurs. On the screen right now is 6 different positions with one player / coach from each team that plays a major role, from head coach all the way down to center. Keep in mind, this is assuming that everyone is back and healthy. I'm not going to go into detail, but I want you guys to take a look at this just to see what San Antonio is going up against. At head coach we have Gregg Popovich, Steve Kerr, and Tyronn Lue. At point guard we have Tony Parker, Stephen Curry, and Kyrie Irving. At shooting guard we have Danny Green, Klay Thompson, and J.R. Smith. At small forward we have Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, and LeBron James. At power forward we have LaMarcus Aldridge, Draymond Green, and Kevin Love. And finally at center we have Pau Gasol, Zaza Pachulia, and Tristan Thompson. On the bench we also have a bunch of different Spurs versus Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, David West versus Iman Shumpert and friends. In my opinion, the Spurs don't have the advantages on the bench but are winning in the categories of head coach and possibly center, assuming Pau Gasol is able to perform offensively and maybe play some defense. Power forward is a close game, but I'm going to have to give it to LaMarcus Aldridge and the Spurs. The backcourts are an issue however, because the gap between Tony Parker and Danny Green is large, while the gap between the Splash Brothers is even larger. Let's not forget about Kyrie Irving and J.R. Smith. At small forward, the Spurs have the worst of the three, which is funny considering that Kawhi is one of the best basketball players of our current generation. However, if Leonard can hold his own against Durant and then James, the Spurs' chances of winning a ring go up. It's probably a stretch, but series are often determined by how good a team plays and how well its star player performs. For example, in the 2015 Western Conference Finals, the Warriors were able to come back from a 3-1 deficit because they had Stephen Curry, who started playing better. In the following finals, the Cleveland Cavaliers came back from once again another 3-1 deficit because LeBron James had 3 of his best consecutive individual performances ever. So I think that this year it just might be possible that Leonard can be that guy. The Spurs have the front court to take on the Cavs, and the Warriors, they have a solid bench and they have Gregg Popovich. They just need that one player to take them to the next level. Before that player was Tim Duncan alongside Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, but for the next few years however, that player is Kawhi Leonard. The hopes of the franchise, for better or worse, are carried by him. For the Spurs to win a championship, they need Kawhi Leonard to play the best basketball of his life on offense and on defense. Leonard is already the best defender, and if anyone can hold KD and LeBron in check, it's him. He's a great shooter, a solid rebounder, and he jumps passing lanes like it's nothing. He is the kind of guy who can take over individual games with how well-rounded his skill set is, plus his humbleness means he will never be distracted by any big time moments. Add all of that into the mix and the Spurs are looking like more of a title contending team than ever before. Now when we come back to the current day with the even more recent losses for both the Cavs and the Warriors, the chances of the San Antonio Spurs succeeding are looking much better. The loss of Kevin Durant for the Warriors has already been discussed and is already clear enough, but what have the Cavaliers lost that makes them worth discussing? Well, 2017 hasn't been a good year for the Cavs so far, not at all. They have lost 3 of their 4 key players, the coach was recently sick, and to top it off, the new center that they recently acquired broke his leg in less than a minute with the team. As if matters weren't worse enough, 9 of the next 12 games are on the road, starting with the Detroit Pistons on Thursday. Another thing is that it's possible that Andrew Bogut might get waived immediately after suffering that broken tibia, and that J.R. Smith might not be clear to return just yet. Add on the fact that Kevin Love will also miss more games while still recovering from knee injury, and you can see the current struggle the Cavs are going through clearer than ever before. As soon as Tyronn Lue gets himself healthy, he needs to figure out how to incorporate all the remaining players into a reasonable rotation that is firm. Andrew Bogut was supposed to be another piece to that puzzle. Unless his recovery time is somehow shorter than expected, the Cavs will likely clear a roster spot to bring in yet another new player. But what does all of this mean for the Spurs? While the Cavaliers are dealing with their own confusion, the Spurs are slowly creeping behind the Warriors to try and nab the top seed in the West. At the time this video is being made, they are currently 3 wins behind the Golden State Warriors. If they are able to assert their dominance in the West by taking advantage of Durant's injury, they might be able to have an easier time in the playoffs. For the Spurs and the rest of the West, the attention will now shift to Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge specifically. Obviously, the team still has plenty of talent and a group of players more than capable of remaining as one of the top contenders in the Western Conference. Add head coach Gregg Popovich into this mix and there's very little reason to believe this team will take a loss this season. San Antonio is prepared to go to the NBA Finals and win yet another championship. Although the Spurs have gotten this far, it's mostly thanks to help from their ascending superstar Kawhi Leonard. Growing up, when I would watch basketball, everyone would ignore the San Antonio Spurs no matter how good they were doing. Kawhi has not only brought excitement back to this team, if they ever did have it, but he has also brought back hope. He has continued a career progression towards becoming one of the greatest two-way players of this generation and plays both ends of the court like it's nothing. Leonard is the definition of a superstar. You never hear much from him, but he just goes out and produces. During the 2015-2016 season, Leonard put together the best season of his career, averaging 21.2 points, 6.8 rebounds, 2.6 assists, 1.8 steals, and 1 block per game. Essentially, he did and has been doing everything you could possibly ask from a player. He's a lockdown defender, a scorer, can create his own shot, create shots for others, and is overall just a great teammate. Leonard's ability to improve in each and every season is very impressive, and it's also a great sign for the Spurs as an organization. Possibly the 2 most important parts of Leonard's game are 2 things that don't get talked about as much as they should. Not only does he take smart shots, shooting 50.6% from the field and 44.3% from deep last season, but he also has no issue with guarding whichever superstar the Spurs are up against on any given night. Because of this, Leonard's breakout season has also had a major impact in drawing the Spurs to within 3 games of the Warriors in the race for the overall best record in the league and home court advantage in the playoffs. With his overall flexibility, Kawhi Leonard's performances have helped boost the Spurs into the conversation of who might steal the NBA title this year. Will it be the Cavs, the Warriors, or the Spurs? I'm just going to pause the video right here and say that I am only making this video based on the reality of the current situation. In all honesty, I'm still rooting for the Toronto Raptors from the corner of this video, but I know that the Raptors still need some time to work on themselves. So if you believe there's another team that should be involved in this topic, leave it in the comment section down below with an explanation. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. Anyways, back to the video. Golden State still has the NBA's best record and the most talented starting lineup when Kevin Durant returns, and he will likely be back if the Warriors get another finals rematch with the Cavs. But San Antonio has size, which has been the Cavs' kryptonite for quite some time now, hence the addition of Andrew Bogut. Not only that, but they also have expertise. In recent history, the Spurs have shown up against LeBron James and the Cavs many times before, and although LeBron still puts up huge numbers and plays well, it's much harder for him to dominate the game in comparison to a team like the Warriors. LeBron dominates the Warriors because he has a psychological edge over them that he doesn't have against the Spurs. At least that's what I think. So if the Spurs are able to make it past the Warriors and excel in the playoffs, not only will they be a tougher matchup for the Cavs, but I honestly think they might have a chance at taking it all. Let's not forget that San Antonio as a team is currently ranked number 4 in offensive efficiency, number 3 in defensive efficiency, and number 2 in both net efficiency and margin of victory. And of course, even within these accomplishments, Kawhi Leonard is once again involved. The 2-time defending defensive player of the year has made another major jump in offensive production. His scoring average is up by almost 4 points per game from 21.2 last season to 25.1. Because of this, it has put him into the NBA's top 10 scoring list during a season dominated by amazing offensive performance. Another thing to note is that in the last 5 games that the Spurs have gone up against the Cleveland Cavaliers, he has scored 30 or more points in a row, something that not even Tim Duncan has accomplished during his 19 years with the franchise. Leonard has become one of the most efficient scorers in the game, making 49% of his shots, 5th best among perimeter players, and 41.6% from distance. That perimeter shooting percentage puts him ahead of Kevin Durant, Kyle Korver, Stephen Curry, and Klay Thompson. He is also number 4 in free throw percentage and 9th in free throw attempts. Aside from Leonard, it's also good to pay attention to the twin towers in LaMarcus Aldridge and Pau Gasol. With Tim Duncan gone, the attention now shifts to these two. The fact that San Antonio was able to sign big man Pau Gasol will go a long way toward their push for another title as well. The reason for that is because there are not many other teams in the NBA who have 2 big men capable of slowing down a combo like Aldridge and Gasol. Sure, DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis have now formed a force of their own, but will they really end up deep in the playoffs along with bigger teams such as the Cavs and the Spurs? I don't think so. Not yet anyways. Aldridge is probably one of the best finishers in the NBA around the basket, and both he and Gasol have jump shots that can help stretch defenses on a constant basis. Aldridge's presence in the post, where he has a nice turnaround jumper with fade plus a killer up and under move, demands serious defensive attention from any team in the league. That makes him the antidote to the double teams Leonard has begun to see nearly every time he faces a team. Add on the fact that Gasol is actually a very good passer for a big man, and you're looking at a combo that's going to be pretty hard to stop. Overall, what I'm trying to say is that the Spurs are still one of the top 5 best teams in the NBA, and they should not be ignored. When you're one of the best teams in the NBA and you have an amazing coach, chances are you're going to have a good shot at winning a title. As long as the Spurs are being put together by R.C. Buford and Gregg Popovich, San Antonio is going to be a championship franchise sooner or later. The 2016-2017 San Antonio Spurs were put together by these two. This is a team that is going to definitely compete for the championship. Together as one, I honestly think that this team has potential to overcome the constant battle between the Warriors and the Cavs and finally become a member of the conversation, which is who will take the NBA title this year. In the end, the Spurs have gained a lot of talent even though they lost one of their all-time greats in Tim Duncan. The addition of Gasol is going to cause matchup nightmares for opponents. In return, I'm expecting them to finish somewhere around the 65 win area this season. While the Golden State Warriors still dealing with an injured Kevin Durant and the Cleveland Cavaliers still figuring out a couple of issues of their own are going to be the favorite teams to meet up in the NBA Finals this year, it's hard to imagine that they will be able to slow down the trio of Aldridge, Gasol, and Kawhi. I think Leonard is an MVP candidate, Aldridge is going to have a huge year, and Popovich will have the type of year that reminds us all why he is one of the best basketball coaches to ever live. When all of those things come together, it puts San Antonio in a position of dominance. And if you don't agree with me, let me remind you that it's never a good idea to count out the Spurs. And no, by no means am I a die-hard fan of the Spurs, but you have to give credit where it's due. Everything being said in this video is my complete unbiased opinion, but let's be honest here. Based on the way things are working out so far, a Western Conference Finals appearance is not only likely from the Spurs, but it seems expected. From there, don't be shocked if the Spurs are able to knock off whoever they face and then get the job done in the NBA Finals. Plus, wouldn't you guys like to have a little bit more diversity in the finals and see two teams face off that aren't the Cavs and the Warriors? I mean, come on, as fun as it is, I think it would be more fun to have a little bit of a switch up, at least for this year. In my opinion, a Cavs versus Spurs finals is something that everyone can enjoy, but then again, that's just what I think. And that concludes the video. As always, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If I made any mistakes or missed anything that you felt should have been included, please let me know. Also, if you have any recommendations for future videos such as interesting stories or topics like this, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. As always, thanks for watching NBA Insider.